Okay, thank you for joining. We're going to get started just to be mindful of everyone's time. It's a little after 1 o'clock. And for folks who will be joining us, hopefully they can pick up where we're at. But again, welcome. Thank you again for taking your time. My name is Lisa Naranjo, and I'll be hosting today's webinar um, on Stress Relief Playbook, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, who put that out, and the benefits of this playbook. So I don't know if many of you are familiar, California Surgeon General, Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, soon once we went on COVID-19, was, I don't want to say restrictions, but we started practicing safer at home, physical and social distancing to minimize the spread of the pandemic of the coronavirus. Soon after, they published a stress relief playbook, and I had been reading it and looking over it, and I thought it was very helpful, a good reminder, but also to a way for folks to revisit how to take care of themselves in this stressful time. For some of us, we do a pretty good job of it, and for some of us, we struggle with how to take care of ourselves. And so I think with May being Mental Health Month, Mental Health Awareness Month, this is a great time to do this webinar to remind folks of simple things that we can be doing or should be doing to alleviate some stress that we may be experiencing during this stressful time during this pandemic with COVID-19. So that's what I'll be talking to today. I'll kind of just do the Cliff Note versions of the playbook, and then at the end, I will show you on the website where you can find this playbook and use it for yourself for everyday use. Just a few housekeeping tips before we get started, just so you're aware. Everyone is on mute, and their camera is also being blocked, so no one will be able to see each other or hear if you have noise in the background. So hopefully, if you do have any questions, that you would actually be using the Q&A box, which I'll get to in a second. This is also being recorded, so if you miss anything or want to watch this PowerPoint presentation within the next, by the end of today, if not today, tomorrow, you can find this recording on Tri-City's website, and at the end, I'll show you where you can find that on our website. Or if you thought it was really helpful and want to share it with someone, you can invite them to view it on our webpage. Since everyone is on mute and I can't hear or see you, I still want this to be an opportunity for you to engage and have some type of dialogue. I will be doing some poll questions through the presentation, but if you have specific questions or comments, I encourage and invite you to use the Q&A box. So if you look at the very bottom, put your mouse or cursor on the bottom, there should be a box that says Q&A. Click on that, and you can definitely type in your questions there. I also just want to share that Jessica Mariano is my co-host and co-facilitator for today. She will be filtering those questions and responding directly to you, or we'll share them with the whole group if it's a really great question that everyone might want to hear or benefit from. Also, at the very end, we'll do questions, but throughout, we'll also be checking questions as they come up. I also want to invite you, if you are in need of some immediate support or really find yourself in challenging situation, or you may know someone who is really struggling and you're looking for support or services immediately, I encourage you to write down this number. This is Tri-City's toll-free number. It's 866-623-9500. Please call that number, and they will ask you questions on how to best direct you for services, whether it's immediate supportive services for our supplemental crisis team or resources through our navigators or our prayer support program. And ultimately, if there is an extreme emergency, always encourage you to just call 911. At the very end of this webinar, there will be a website that shows up from SurveyMonkey. Highly encourage you, and we would really appreciate if you took a minute to just answer the questions. This is an opportunity for us to get feedback on how well these presentations are coming along. And also, if there's other topics you are interested in, you can definitely share the topics that you might want to have see Tri-City do. And also, again, just thank you for taking the time to participate and join us on this webinar today. So this is just an overview that we'll be covering today, and just some background. Tri-City, this is our third webinar that we're hosting. We started a few weeks ago. This is the third one, and we look to offer some more. And again, for those of you who are not too familiar or not from the area, Tri-City Mental Health Services is the mental health authority for Pomona, Laverne, and Claremont. And so not only do we do clinical services, but we also do community support and engagement. And this webinar is brought to you through our community training department that we have. So some of the topics that we're going to be covering today, just to have an general overview, is the importance of stress management. Some of us, like I said, do that really well, and some of us might be struggling with that. Stress busting, how do we combat the stress that we're experiencing? And then we'll look at strategies on how to implement those stress busting techniques. And again, a lot of these are just things that we can do throughout the day or throughout the week. We'll also take a look at things to eliminate, maybe things we should be avoiding, things that we should maybe minimize during this time. And then lastly, things that we should embrace, things that we encourage you to do, things that you might want to start practicing, and hopefully help with reducing some stress you may be experiencing. So before we get started, I'd just like to start with a poll. This is my opportunity to really start to engage you, the attendees, in this webinar. So this poll that I'm going to pull up, there's 2 questions that I'm going to ask, and I just encourage you to take a second to answer them. The first one, in the last 6 weeks, how would you rate your stress level? And the second question, what are you doing to manage your stress? So please, if you can, respond to the polling question. Just going to give you another second or two to complete the poll. Okay. It looks like a lot of folks completed the poll, so I'm going to actually end it now, and we'll look at the results. So it looks like a good percentage of you, 92, are a little stressed, which is really great. With the amount of things, changes that we've been going through, the fact that you're just a little stressed is a really good sign, and a lot of you are probably practicing some really good self-care techniques. One person is feeling very stressed, and hopefully this webinar will help alleviate some of that and give you some great tips to manage that stress. And then we look at how are you managing it, the best way you're coping with that. Overwhelmingly, half of you do some type of physical activity daily or weekly. But that's great. That is one of the things we will be talking about today, is for sure having some physical activity. And then the rest, 33%, connecting with friends and family, which is always a great way to deal with stress, is connecting with folks who maybe understand you, know how to support you, and that's really helpful to know. One person practices meditation and relaxation, which is really great. And one person says other. So I'd like to hear maybe at some point what that other technique or skill that you do. If you don't mind sharing, you can just put that in the Q&A box of what you do to help manage your stress. Awesome. So I'm going to start with the importance of stress management. But I will say at this time, during COVID-19, the amount of stress and anxiety that we are experiencing has definitely increased and has taken a toll on some of us in various ways, shapes, and forms. During this time, your body, when you're really stressed, produces hormones that can change the chemical imbalance in our body, how we respond to stress, and how do we deal with stress. And just want to acknowledge that this can lead to unhealthy physical and mental health problems, such as some health disparities as diabetes and heart disease, and for mental health, anxiety or depression. So for some of us, again, not to say we've never dealt with stress before. We are humans, and stress has always been a part of our day-to-day activities. But when you put us in a pandemic where our lives are asked to do a 180 and do things completely different than what we are a part of, it really does throw us off and alleviate our stress levels to degrees that we're not used to experiencing, let alone how to manage them. And so hopefully we will address some of those techniques. So stress management. So just overall awareness. I can't stress enough to everyone who's listening and people that I connect with that to say that COVID-19 has not put us under amount of distress that we're not used to is the new norm. So I hope that through this webinar, we just acknowledge it and we are kind to ourselves to say, yes, we are going through quite a bit. I am or have struggled, but what can I do to take care of myself? Because some of us not only have to take care of ourselves, but have families or friends that we also care for and take care of. And so in order for us to be there to support them, we first have to support ourselves. And so the three areas that I just want to talk about where stress management might have increased or show up in ways that we're not familiar with, or maybe have increased in larger quantities than we are comfortable experiencing, is first in our body. Some of you may notice some of these changes that have happened, your sleep, your appetite. You may have headaches, migraines, stomach aches, or just really unexplainable aches and pains in your joints, in your neck, in your back. So just be mindful that, again, this could be just where your stress is really making its mark and where it's really resonating with you. So just be kind and gentle to yourself. Take a moment to acknowledge that these are changes in due to some stress that you might be experiencing. Also, our emotions can get the best of us, and we may find that depending on the day, the mood we're in, or what we're currently experiencing, our mood might have some drastic changes that happen. That could look like depression or anxiety. We may can get very frustrated very easily, maybe have a shorter temper, less patience. We might be very emotional and crying for no reason, or just getting so upset that we just have to take a moment to ourselves. And also just feeling helplessness, just feeling like really there's not much that you can do during this time. And then just be mindful of your behaviors and how they've changed or how you're trying to manage them. Again, you become very angry or irritable. The littlest things can get you frustrated. Things that maybe would not have bothered you before now seem to really aggravate you and make you a little more irritable, less patient. If you find that you're isolating or withdrawing from friends or family, please know that that is a typical response, but encourage you not to isolate too much. I think folks took social and physical distancing as a way to isolate, but we're not encouraging to isolate, but really still stay connected in other ways. And lastly is uptake and unhealthy habits. And so we'll talk about what those unhealthy habits are, and just acknowledging that if you are practicing those unhealthy habits, one, acknowledging it, and then two, what can we do to combat some of those strategies. So now I'm going to do a quick poll question number 2. This is a 2-part question as well, and hopefully I'll just take a quick second. So this is a 2-part poll. First question is, where has stress showed up? So again, looking at the areas that we covered, body, emotions, behavior. It's multiple choice. If you feel it's impacted in all those areas, please, by all means, all the above is fine. And then how much of an impact has it had on you? personally. So it's one thing to know that it's been impactful, but how much has it taken a toll on you through your day-to-day activities? And again, just want to take a moment for folks who might have joined us a little bit later when we got started. Again, thank you for attending. This is Tri-City's third webinar. We're going to be doing the Stress Relief Playbook. We're really going to be taking advantage of May Mental Health Month and find ways to support ourselves, to implement some self-care tools and techniques. This is our second polling question, so please, if you don't mind participating. And it looks like we pretty much have everyone completing the poll, so I'm going to end it now and share the results with you. So it looks like we have a two-way tie between body and emotions. 5 find it's more impact, it showed up in your body, 5 in your emotions, 2 in your behavior, and 3 all the above. So definitely it can impact all the areas of our body. So thank you for acknowledging that. And then for how much of an impact, a good 75% of you, 9, has said it's some impact that it's had on you. And so thank you for just acknowledging that. And we will hopefully give you some tools to maybe reduce the impact little by little. 2 people said no impact, which is really great. I would imagine maybe you already have some really great self coping skills, stress relieving skills, and hopefully at the end, if you have a time, it would be nice to hear what some of you are doing that hasn't already been discussed or addressed in this webinar. And then 1 person have found this very impactful, and thank you for acknowledging that, and we hopefully will get you some support during this webinar. So just something to keep in mind, and just again, to acknowledge, it's important to know that these changes aren't just in your head. And so I think, again, just taking a moment to be kind to ourselves and saying, this is normal, I'm not alone, and someone else out there is struggling just like me, and so I should not be so hard on myself. Also, just know that these may be signs of biological, a sign that we're having a biological reaction to our stress. And as much as we try to control it, some of these things are beyond our control. And so the stress busting skills we're going to get into in a minute will hopefully just kind of counterbalance that stuff that we can't control. So the good news is there are simple things you can do every day to protect your health. So again, some of you may have really great coping skills that you utilize every day. And you may find that I thought I had really great skills, but this is so new to me and so foreign that the skills I was using not working right now, and I need to go back and reevaluate what I need to do to take care of myself. And so this is where the guidelines we're going to cover will hopefully address those questions. We can always use additional support and new ways to take care of ourselves. So we're going to look at 3 stress busting things that you can do at home. And again, what I really love about the stress playbook is that these are very simple things that we can do by ourselves or with friends and family, and maybe encourage others to do it with you as well, to create a network of support. So the first thing is just awareness, acknowledging and bringing awareness. And I will say that it's, for myself, working, having a family, multiple responsibilities, bringing awareness to myself was the last thing I did and was really bad at it. And so really, I feel being during this COVID-19 so stay at home has really challenged me to, at some point throughout the day, check in with myself and really acknowledge where I'm at, how I'm feeling, and where is my stress showing up in my body, in my emotions, or my day-to-day activities. It can throw us out of rhythm. So again, part of the frustration is, why can't I do this? Why am I able to function the way I used to? And that's just because the stress is really starting to set in ourselves. Also, just know that if you have a pre-existing or a chronic condition that you are currently going through, it's really, really important that you do some self-awareness and self-check-ins throughout the day, and pay attention to these changes, because they may have a greater impact because you already have an underlying health condition, such as maybe heart disease, cholesterol, diabetes, or maybe you've already had experience with depression or anxiety that you've worked with in the past, and now it's come up and resurfaced again, more predominant these past few weeks. Make a plan for you. This is, again, so bringing awareness is one thing, but then put it into action. Come up with a plan to take care of yourself. Again, the playbook is the plan, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but make a plan that works for you with realistic goals that you can do. What's achievable? And maybe it might sound minor or simple, but maybe just the goal is, I'm just going to take 10 minutes throughout my day to practice on my breathing, or I'm going to take the afternoon and go sit outside and just really enjoy some nice sun while the weather is still nice outside. Think about activities that you used in the past that have helped you through stressful times. Like I said before, we've all been through stressful times. We are humans. We've felt stress before. Feeling stress is not new, but the amount of stress and the impact of this stress that we have is what's fairly new. So if you've had things that you've done in the past that you've found very, very helpful, please revisit those and re-implement them in your day-to-day activities to help them minimize. And then also just be open to trying something new. If you weren't into meditation before, maybe that's something you try practicing. I know there's a lot of great apps that are available that walk you through mindfulness techniques and skills that are about 5 minutes, not a lot of time. I mean, think about it in perspective. So just trying something new. Maybe it's cooking a new recipe. Maybe it's taking up an outdoor activity like gardening, or planting stuff at spring and things are coming to fruition. So again, just being open to ideas for new things to take in consideration. And then finally, in step 3, just work your program. Now, this is new and it's going to take time. In order for you to be successful, your plan, you need to practice every day, sometimes twice a day. So just as we like to exercise to take care of our physical bodies, sometimes we have to be patient and exercise our mental brain as well. And it's going to take work. I know some of us are very impatient and we like instant gratification. I am speaking of myself. I'll put myself out there. And so just know that the plan that you create, it's going to take time to work. So just be patient with yourself and acknowledge the little victories, the little goals that you achieve throughout the process. Regularly check in with yourself to see how you're feeling emotionally and physically. And for some people, that's a huge challenge, to be completely honest with how they are emotionally. And it's okay to say, I'm struggling, I am suffering, I find it challenging to focus to get through the day. It's okay for us to acknowledge that. We more likely can acknowledge some of the physical things that we are being impacted with, but emotionally sometimes we find that difficult to navigate. And then last, just trying to track your progress. You know, if it's working, great, continue doing it. Share it with others, because it could be a benefit to them. But if it's not working after a few weeks, you realize this is still not working, then go back to the playbook and come up with a better plan, and maybe connecting with friends and family and asking them what they're doing could be helpful. And then of course, there's always professional support that's still available during this time. Just because we're physical distancing doesn't mean that professional help's not available. And I'm just gonna stop right here and just check in with Jess to see if there's any questions right now, Jessica.
Hey, Lisa. No, we currently have no questions. From earlier at the beginning, from the first poll, the person who answered other, wanted to share that they do a lot of prayer to help them with their stress.
Awesome. Thank you. That was really great. Yes, people find prayer to be very helpful in their practice. And I also heard a lot of folks who have revisited their faith. Maybe they didn't practice as much, or maybe they took a little sabbatical from it, but during this time have really reached out and reconnected to their faith for support. So that's really great. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, no. Oh, thank you. A little technical difficulty there. So I had no idea what I just did, but here we are. Okay, so we've been doing a lot of prep, and so now what is it that we do? Lisa, we're here. Tell us what we should be doing. So here are the 6 stress-busting strategies that we're going to go over. Hopefully, you can walk away feeling really good and confident about practicing one of them. If you can do 2, that's great. If you're going to be an overachiever and say, I can do all 6 of them, great. But take the pressure off yourself. Just finding one of these would be beneficial for you. So there's nutrition, which we talked about, and really just want to be mindful that some of us may have had a really good diet or nutrition regimen before, and since we've been home, we threw it out the window and went back to our tried and true comfort foods that really help soothe our soul, and which is great, but now we might start to feel the impact of that. And so just maybe revisiting a diet or nutrition plan. I don't want to say diet because that sounds kind of, diet's not a good word for some people, but maybe a more healthier nutrition plan. So maintain a healthy, balanced diet which includes fruits, vegetables, omega-3s, and lean proteins. Now, I also know that during this time, access to nutrition and healthier foods may be a challenge. So I encourage you to still just what you can get access to, try to make healthier decisions with what you do have available in your home, in your pantry, in your freezer, when you do feel comfortable going out to restock your groceries. Another quick, simple thing to do of the nutrition is just intaking more water, just staying hydrated. Again, drinking 8 glasses of water. I know that's a challenge for me. I try really hard to do that, but if you can get at least 8 glasses of water in, and having regular meal times. I think for all of these, finding a way to stay on a schedule can be challenging. So if you can stick to a schedule with your meals as well, that could be very helpful. And then just be creative with new healthy recipes in your home. So I know there's a lot of great things you can find on apps and cooking channels, websites that have really great recipes with simple ingredients. So maybe you weren't a great cook or a chef before. Maybe now you are taking care of yourself by learning how to cook and nourish your body with healthy ingredients. We've talked about our mental health. Everyone's mental health is being impacted, and we're struggling on different scales, on different ways, and it's starting to show up if it hasn't already. And so one thing to just keep in mind with our mental health is, one, just to acknowledge that this stress does have an impact on our mental health. You may want to minimize exposure to news or individuals that can be very upsetting or disturbing to you. So kind of pick and choose how much news you watch and how much interaction you have with individuals that may be causing some of your distress. Reach out to for support. There's so many great resources available. A lot of sites that may be charged are now offering a free service for 30, 60, or even 90 days. So just revisiting those. We'll talk about some resources at the very end. And again, if folks have resources that they want to share, please put those in the Q&A box, and we'll share those at the end of that you're currently using that you find to be beneficial for your mental health. Share how you're feeling with loved ones. I think this is so important. It kind of just breaks down that wall of the stigma that I am struggling with this, and I know I'm not alone. And when the minute you do that, it opens the door and invites other people to share with them others how they also are feeling during this time. Again, just finding supportive relationships. Find friends, family, neighbors, folks that you may have lost contact with. Re-engage those relationships and just really take advantage of the support that they provide. And just also know that you might be a support to someone else. And that's a great thing, that people may find confidence in you to support them. And then just spending some really good quality time with them. I know physically being connected is a challenge, but again, thanks to social media, there's always a way to stay connected through Instagram or Facebook, or just doing a good old-fashioned picking up your phone and calling someone and have a phone conversation. And there's a lot of great apps that have ways that you can do that and do some interaction with games using that platform. So again, if you have really great resources, share those. For time's sake, we don't have the time to get into all of those, but if you do have one particular that you think is a great one to share, please do. Mindfulness can help strengthen brain pathways and act as a buffer to stress response and help regulate your stress response more easily. So again, this is a great way for you to just take 5 to 10 minutes throughout your day. 20 would be great if you can, to practice some meditation, whether it's your breathing, relaxation, doing yoga, maybe finding prayer at this time. This is a really great way to do that in simple steps. I know there's a lot of great apps that literally walk you through step by step how to do some meditation and mindfulness activities. Exercise daily, that was a really great one that folks talked about in the poll that you guys do. I think it's really great to find some way to do some activity. Some of us have been cooped up in our homes or place of residence for a very long time. And so even just doing stuff in your home, like simple stretches in the home, or finding a great app or a video that you can do and work along with. And ultimately, if you feel comfortable and safe to be outdoors, even just going for a nice walk. I know this weather that we're having this week is nice and cool, so going out for a walk for at least 60 minutes would be make a huge difference. And I know for myself, trying to incorporate some type of daily exercise has really helped me during this difficult time. And then last and not least is getting some good, healthy sleep. So I know at some point my sleep was impacted, and I'm sure others are finding it difficult to either fall asleep, stay asleep, or find themselves waking up quite a bit throughout the night, which can be a challenge. So sleep hygiene is very, very important. And so getting a good night's sleep is beneficial to our health. So a few things to keep in mind is, if you can get 7 to 8 hours of good sleep, that's fantastic. Like with our nutrition, trying to set up a good sleep routine, trying to be in bed by a certain time and getting up at a certain time and being consistent with that routine is very helpful. And then also when you're going to bed, that's not the time to turn on the TV, get on your tablet or your phone and start looking at the news and all the day-to-day events. You should hopefully turn off all your electronics a half hour to an hour before you go to bed. So it gives your brain, your mind a chance to calm down, unwind, and relax. Maybe that time to do some meditation before bed would be very helpful and encourage you to get a good night's sleep. So just real quick, going to do my third polling question right now, and hopefully you feel comfortable sharing your response. So this is just a one part of the 6 strategies, what we just talked about. Which one do you feel confident practicing? So again, if you just want to choose one because 6 seems like way too many to tackle at one time, that's fine. If you feel you can do multiple, then it's a multiple choice. You can choose as many as you think you can see yourself realistically doing. And maybe you're already doing one of them and now you want to try something different. Maybe you find yourself exercising regularly, but now you want to practice a good, healthy diet. and so on and so forth. So just take a second to complete the survey. I'm just trying to gauge of the 6, which ones do you feel confident in practicing? Okay, I think we got a good response. I'm going to stop the polling now and share the results with you. So hands down, 73% felt nutrition is one that you feel really confident practicing. And that's really, really great, because nutrition does a lot, not only for our body, but for our mind and for our overall health. So having really good nutrition is a plus. So I'm glad that you feel confident in doing that. There's a tie, 55% for mindfulness and daily exercise. So again, really great things that will help with your overall health and get you out and moving. Followed by, there's another tie with 36% for supportive relationships and healthy sleep. So definitely want to take advantage of that and find ways to stay connected with friends and family that really have been a great support to you during this time. And you may find that you, in return, are a great support to them as well. And then getting some good old-fashioned sleep. I know even before COVID-19, people may have struggled with that. And so revisiting that is a great option. And then last, with 27%, our mental health. And again, that's always a good thing to try to practice daily, is to have our mind-body connection in lines for a more productive self. So I'm going to continue on with things to consider. There are some things you should limit and other things you should embrace. So we're going to look at things that we should limit. And these are things that you may have no problem eliminating from your day-to-day routine, or some that you find as a challenge. So first and foremost, substance. And so we have seen in local news and research have shown that during this time, unfortunately, a lot of individuals have turned to some type of substance to self-cope, self-soothe, to alleviate the stress that they're going through, which at the time they may feel is helping them, but in long term we know it's not so helpful. So one thing to keep in mind is the dependency that the substance that you're engaging in could lead to a dependence, and which can have more long-term effects on our health, our physical health, and our mental health. So please just know that some folks find substance use as a stress reliever, but it's not the most healthiest. So if this pertains to you or someone you know, please encourage them to find other ways to take care of themselves, to minimize the substance, and to get support right away if they find that they have developed a dependence for it. Next, we have fatty or sugary foods. This goes back to nutrition. I get some of us, we are stressful eaters, and when we are stressed out, our diet goes out the window and we want comfort food. We want all the good home cooked foods, the high fatty, sugary foods that our body craves, and just know that we're craving it because we're producing hormones that are saying we need it. And it's okay to treat ourselves to an indulgent from time to time. But when we've been home for 6 to 8 weeks and we've barricaded ourselves in our kitchens, cooking really great foods, we may start to feel the effect. We might start to feel more sluggish, more lazy, more tired, not as energized, and that's just because our body is reacting to the foods that we're eating. We're not taking care of ourselves with healthy options. So for a lot of you who check nutrition as a practice, hopefully you do develop some good healthy habits during this time. And then last, some things to avoid. I know we all are watching the news because there's so much we don't know and we want to know. We want to feel like we are understanding what's happening in this chaotic times. And so we may have gravitated to watching the news all the time. We download apps that keep us updated with news updates. We talk to friends about the news. We read about the news. We're watching the news. We're listening to the news on podcasts. So please just take a break. Take a time out and maybe just limit the amount of news that you watch. If it's just an hour a day, maybe one segment that you're watching, and minimize the amount of news that you're watching. Because of all the information, it could be an information overload. It can increase our anxiety, can make us overwhelmed and start to feel depressed. So please just be mindful of that. As you're watching the news, it could be overwhelming. And also too, if you do have young kids or children in your home, it's probably not good for them as well to be watching the amount of news that you're watching. So maybe just change the channel or just turn it off and use that time to do some exercise or activities that are more beneficial for you. This next slide that we have is just things that we should probably be embracing, that we should focus on more in our day-to-day activities. Try to find positive people, places, and spaces that provide strength, comfort, and resiliency. So some of these we already talked about them. I'm not going to touch on all of them, but definitely, again, good company. Hopefully there's one person that you feel great about connecting with that gets you, understands you, and you have really good conversations and you leave feeling better off after you've connected with them. Be remembering to breathe. We do a lot of shallow breathing, but when have we really took some nice deep breaths? And so try to do that as a practice, especially when you start to feel a little overwhelmed or anxious about things. Take a minute to just focus on your breathing. That could be really great. Going outdoors, getting some vitamin D, getting the sun could be a huge benefit to the body. So some folks may not feel comfortable being outdoors or as much, but if you do, please find some time to be outdoors in a space where we can get some sun and enjoy the good air quality that we have right now due to the less traffic we're experiencing. I already said hydration, drinking water, so practice that. Play, have fun with yourself, be kind to yourself. If you do have kids in the home, find fun, creative things to do that are playful, that make you laugh. Laughing is a great benefit, a good mental health benefit. So take some time to laugh with friends or family or your own children. Do something fun for as a whole family. And last but not least, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you are struggling, if you do find that you're in distress and that these coping skills, you've tried them and nothing's working, please reach out for help, whether it be through a friend or family or connecting with professional help to see someone and talk to someone about how to help you navigate these challenging times. Before I go on, I'm going to do a polling question and then just check in with any questions. So let's do my last polling question that I have. And this is just a one quick question. How many items do you think you will embrace when it comes to our wellness? Of the 6 items, how many, again, do you think you could do? 1, 2 to 4, or all of them? And again, if you're already doing these, then hopefully this is a good reinforcement that you're on the right track. That the fact that you're taking time to take care of yourself is really important, and you're doing a really good job. So pat yourself on the back that you're doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. If this is all new to you, please take it in baby steps. Don't overwhelm yourself to do all of them. Again, pick 1 or 2 that you feel confident in doing on a regular, consistent basis. And last, share this with someone. If you're doing well, but you know someone's struggling, hopefully I gave you some really great ideas. This PowerPoint gave you some good feedback on things that you can share with individuals during this time. I think we're good. I'm going to end the poll here and share the results. And a lot of you feel really confident that you can do 69, feel you can do 2 to 4 of them, which is really great. And 31%, all of them. So kudos to you for taking the challenge to feel confident that you can do all 6 of those things. Before I move on, Jessica, is there any questions that need to be addressed at this time?
No, Lisa.
Thank you, Jessica. So again, this whole presentation really stemmed from California Surgeon General Playbook on stress relief during COVID-19. You can find this in 2 different sites, but I'm going to share with you and walk you through where you can find it online. So if, hopefully you follow along with me, but if you don't, Jessica will let me know. You should be right now seeing a web page. It's the California Coronavirus Response. This is their web page. And I will have the slide at the end with the address again, but it's covid19.ca.gov. This is where you can find the playbook, the full version of everything I just talked about. I kind of just cheated and gave you the highlights, but if you want to download it, you can. If you want to email it to someone who can benefit from it, perfect. And the really great thing about this on this site, right here's the link to the playbook in its entirety. But what is also great is they already have it in different languages. So again, if this is a resource that you want to utilize, they do offer it in Arabic, Chinese, Korean, Spanish, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. So this is really a great resource, and this is where you can find it for yourself. As I said before, this is for you to take care of yourself, but I also know that through physical distancing and staying at home, we are staying home with multiple people and possibly younger children, especially children who are used to being at school, and this whole routine has thrown them off. And you may be finding that taking care of them and taking care of yourself has been very challenging. What I always say is you're no good to no one else if you're not good to yourself first. So I encourage you to take these tools, practice them on yourself, use them on yourself, and then share it with kids or other adults who you are currently staying with and going through COVID-19 while you stay at home. If you go further down, there is a similar playbook that is specifically for caregivers and kids. So maybe this is an activity you could do as a family and just have a nice, healthy dialogue about how we're feeling, how we're doing, and maybe as a family come up with a plan. What are some of the stress busters that we as a family want to incorporate? Maybe pick 1 or 2 and start practicing them. Maybe the whole family gets in the kitchen and learns how to cook a healthy meal. Maybe we all go outside and play kickball or soccer or some type of activity. Maybe as a family, we all want to go for a walk and do some exercise. So again, it could just be a way to bring the family together and reconnect and have a common goal as a family. How do we want to manage our stress during this time? And then I'm going to just show you, it's a PDF version. So if you click on the link, this is the actual playbook, and it's 7 pages. But the actual playbook is on page 6. So they're just very simple. You can print it out, check 1 or more of the boxes, and this is your actual tool to get you through COVID-19 and how to manage your stress and deal with your stress as it changes. Again, 1 week we can be doing really well and feel like we got everything together, and then the next week, different story. Stressed out, burned out, overwhelmed, and you might want to pull this back out and look at it and find ways to start taking care of yourself and get back on track. So all the areas that we covered are here, and you just check a box of ones that you feel can be the most beneficial to you and your loved ones. So I hope this is helpful, and I wanted to make sure you guys got to see where this could be found. And I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Is there any questions, Jessica, before I end it?
No, Lisa, we currently have no questions.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so here is, again, for California for All, this is the website right here is where we were just at. So this is where you can find the playbook. Also, California Surgeon General has a website, ACEs Aware. This is another great resource for information. The playbook could also be found on here. I don't know if some of you were on our webinar last week. We did our ACEs presentation. And so this is another great resource if you just want more information about ACEs. And as we discussed, what we are currently experiencing during COVID-19 is very traumatic. We are having a physiological response to this stress. And no doubt in years to come that this COVID-19 could be a potential ACE score for someone because of the trauma they experienced during this difficult time. I also just want to share with you also resources that Tri-City currently offers. I said you can call us at any time. There are several numbers that we can be reached at, but just know during this time, Tri-City is open and providing services and supports to not only our clients, but our community members who may find themselves at this time, maybe for the first time, reaching out saying, I need help, I need support. This is challenging, this is difficult, and we commend you for acknowledging that and reaching out to us for that support. So first we have our community navigators who do linkage and referral, and the great thing about our navigators is that you contact them, you let them know what you need or what you're looking for. They will do the homework, they will call around, they will get you not just a number but a name and more background of what it is that this resource needs from you, and then they will get back to you with everything that you need to connect with them to meet your needs, which is a really great service. We have a well-being supportive chat for non-emergency support. Maybe you just find that I just really want to talk to someone. I may have a difficult time speaking with friends and family, and I just prefer to speak to someone else who maybe has some experiences and willing to talk to me. We encourage you to call our main number, our 909-623-6131, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And if you are just looking for someone to talk to, they will connect you with Chris Anzalone. He will then refer you to our peer mentor program, who are volunteers who have will connect with you to do some one-on-one support. And then last, we have our 24/7 crisis support services. So this is an opportunity if there is a major crisis that you're experiencing and live within Pomona, Laverne, and Claremont, you can call and someone from our supplemental crisis line will connect with you. And if you or someone you know is a current client of Tri-City, you can call this number and they can connect you with the therapist to speak with them directly. But again, you don't have to be a client for our supplemental crisis. You can call at any time for emergency support. The flyer that you see next to it is just, again, inviting you. Like I said, this is the third webinar that we're doing in a series of webinars. Every Tuesday from 11 to 12 is when we do our webinars. So I encourage you to sign up or look at our website for future webinars and topics. Or you can also go to our website to see previous recorded webinars. This one will be on to view and share with others. So again, the information is down here if you have any specific information, but also encourage you to go to our website, which is on the next page, is where I'm going to wrap up. This right here for information on future webinars, this is the link that you'd want to go to. Or if you just want general information about Tri-City, maybe for some of you this is the first time you have heard of us or looking to interact with us, this is just our main webpage, which has just been updated. It looks fantastic, so I encourage you to take a look. There's a lot of other great services we offer for you to visit. But if you want the training information specifically, this is the link you'd come to. That's about it. I have 5 minutes, so definitely if you have questions, comments, please use your Q&A box to post your question. I just want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to listen to me, and hopefully this information was helpful. beneficial. Hopefully you will share it with other folks who can benefit from it. But thank you for your time. And again, it's May Mental Health Month, so take care of yourself. Take a moment for some self-care, and just acknowledge that during these times, we're doing the best we can with what we have, and that's enough. As long as we can do that, we're good. So I'm just going to stay on for another minute. If people have questions, I definitely will open up my Q&A box as well to look at questions if you have any. But if not, thank you for joining me today. And next week we'll have another presentation. I believe it's Know the Signs as a suicide prevention topic next Tuesday. So if you're interested in that, please register for that one as well. Okay, I don't see any questions coming up, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you again for your time, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.